too sure what happened. That's what we're trying to find out. I got 2 emails today from the embassy in Zanzibar that said the investigation is still ongoing. That we have not determined the cause of death yet at all, and the investigation is still ongoing and still pending right now. So there has nothing official has been released. That's what we're trying to find out. We just want answers. We just think it's very odd that our daughter is traveling with Joe and we don't hear anything from Joe. To me, that's very odd. And initial call that she got from Joe was 11 hours after something had transpired in the room. And that's very odd. 11 hours later,
11 hours.
Something had transpired, and Joe just relayed to Yolanda that Ashlee was okay and she was stable and she was okay and don't worry about it.
But that she was at the hospital.
Y'all, this is not just another tragic influencer story. This is the kind of case that leaves people disturbed, confused, and asking questions that nobody seems ready to answer. A 31-year-old woman, happy, glowing, celebrating her birthday in paradise, just got engaged, telling her family this was one of the best moments of her life. And then suddenly, she's gone. No warning, no clear explanation, just silence, and a story that doesn't sit right. Her name? Ashlee Robinson, known online as Ashlee Jenae. At first it was called a suicide, but here's where everything starts to fall apart. Her own family is rejecting that completely. They're saying she was excited, full of life, making plans, not someone who was ready to end it all. And then there's that detail that's haunting everyone, an 11-hour delay before they were even told something was wrong. So what really happened in those hours? Now enter the fiancé, Joe McCann. People started going back, rewatching clips, studying body language, and something about it all feels off. Not proof, but enough to raise eyebrows. And then the internet did what it always does. It dug deeper. Old discussions, alleged past issues, mentions of a previous relationship, including a woman named Shay Jackson, with unverified claims of toxic behavior and troubling patterns. No confirmed evidence, but a pattern people can't ignore. Then add the argument, the separate rooms, reports that don't fully line up, and a timeline that keeps raising more questions than answers. One moment she's posting, smiling, living her dream. The next, a completely different story is being told. And that's where this stops feeling simple and starts feeling complicated. So now people are asking, was this really what it's being called? Or is there something deeper that hasn't come out yet? No official answers, no clear closure, just a growing list of questions and a name that keeps coming back into the conversation. And the more you look at it, the harder it is to ignore.
It was starting the next chapter of her life. She called us and FaceTimed us to share with us her travel.
Ashlee's mother says she never would have expected that less than a week later, her daughter would be dead. On April 8th, she says Ashlee called, saying she and her fiance got into an argument and were moved to separate rooms. The next day, she received another call, this time from her fiance.
He told me that Ashlee did something to herself and that she was being taken to the hospital. I said, what happened, when? And he told me it had been 11 hours prior.
Hours later, the luxury resort the couple was staying at called saying that Ashlee passed away.
A 31-year-old woman flew across the world to celebrate her birthday, got engaged in a luxury paradise, told her family she was living her dream, and less than a week later, she was dead. That's not just tragic, that's unsettling. Her name was Ashlee Robinson, known online as Ashlee Jenae, and what started as a picture-perfect trip to Zanzibar is now turning into one of the internet's most disturbing mysteries, because the official story says one thing, but the details, they're telling something very different. Ashlee was happy. That's not speculation. That's from her own words, her own posts, her own family. She was smiling, glowing, celebrating life, showing off moments that looked like a fairy tale. A birthday, a proposal, a future.
Raised concerns after influencer Ashlee Jenae died during a trip to Tanzania with her fiance Joe McCann, and now police are actively investigating what really happened. Here's a timeline of her final days. Starting on April 3rd, Joe proposed to Ashlee during their trip, and she took to Instagram to post a video of the moment he popped the question. Cameras captured him getting down on one knee at a luxury safari while a lion walked in front of them. The following day, on April 4th, she posted pics of herself and her fiance feeding zebras and standing near a giraffe, and even reshared the shot of him proposing. And on April 5th, which was Ashlee's birthday, she celebrated on social media with a series of snaps from the trip. You can see a bed of rose petals at her feet that spelled out "Happy Birthday, Ashlee," as she poses with a feeding giraffe. She also shared a clip of her and Joe kissing as the giraffe ate from the bowl next to them. Then on April 8th, things took a major turn. Ashlee's mom, Yolanda, told Philadelphia's WPVI-TV her daughter called to say she and Joe got into an argument and moved to separate rooms. They had been staying at a luxury resort, Zanzibar, at the time. On April 9th, Ashlee was found unconscious in her villa and rushed to the hospital, according to a local news outlet. The family tells TMZ Joe waited 11 hours to call them and tell them what happened, which they find...
So how does someone go from, "Don't wake me up, this feels like a dream," to being gone just days later? That's where the story begins to crack. The explanation given was suicide. But her family, they're rejecting that completely. They're asking one simple question: why doesn't any of this add up? Because here's the detail that's shaking everyone: an 11-hour delay. According to her family, they weren't told immediately, not when something happened, not when she was found, but hours later. Nearly half a day passed before they even knew something was wrong. What happened in those 11 hours? Who was contacted? What was said? What wasn't? Now enter the man who was closest to her in those final moments, her fiancé, Joe McCann. At first glance, everything looked normal, romantic even. Proposal videos, vacation clips, smiles. But now, people are going back frame by frame, and they're noticing things they didn't see before. Expressions that don't match the moment, energy that feels off, a presence that doesn't quite align with hers.
This understanding was so intense that hotel staff had to separate them in 2 different rooms.
Ever lead me to believe that she would do something to harm herself.
She's out of the country with her boyfriend. She's celebrating her birthday April 5th. Gets engaged to this boyfriend, same trip. From what I could see online, she's actively posting content during this time, even texting with her friend about the engagement. Then days later found deceased while on that same trip in Zanzibar. After hearing a little bit of what her mom said, I'm not pointing fingers, but shit. It was reported that her and the boyfriend got into an alleged misunderstanding. Now her mother states that sometime after that, security had walked him to the room and that's when they found her. And let's be honest, that is possible, right? Now obviously when you put everything together and you're looking from the outside in, the shit looks weird. I really hope all possibilities are explored though. Considering they had to be separated, that means staff would possibly know that she's in that room alone, right? Foreign country, on vacation, beautiful girl, a lot of suspects. Do also want to point out, I've seen a lot of people online saying that her lifestyle is what ultimately led to her fate. Let's be real, that's a nasty ass thing to say. No matter what you believe happened here, nobody deserves that. With that being said, I think all possibilities are on the table. Vacation, birthday trip, proposal, take your own life.
No proof, just a feeling. But sometimes, patterns start with feelings, and then the internet dug deeper. A name begins to surface in online conversations: Shay Jackson, allegedly connected to his past, along with unverified claims of a toxic relationship, troubling behavior, and whispers of instability. Nothing confirmed, no official reports, but the pattern? People say it feels familiar, and that's where this story takes a darker turn, because now it's not just about what happened in Zanzibar, it's about what might have happened before. Add in the reported argument between Ashlee and Joe, the fact that hotel staff had to separate them into different rooms, and then the very next day, she's found unconscious. That's not just a timeline, that's a sequence. And sequences make people ask questions. Then there are the small details, the ones that don't make headlines but stay in your mind. Why was there such a delay in communication? Why were certain moments missing from the narrative? Why does the emotional timeline not match the physical one? Even third-party voices, friends, viewers, observers, are saying the same thing. We're not saying what happened, but something feels wrong. And that phrase keeps coming back. Something feels wrong. No proof, but a pattern. No confirmation, but too many questions. And when you line everything up, the happiness, the argument, the separation, the delay, the silence, it stops feeling like a single event and starts looking like something more layered. So now the real question isn't just what happened. It's this. Was everything exactly as it's being said? Or are there pieces of this story we haven't seen yet? And if there are, who knows the truth? Because at the center of it all is one name, Ashlee. And until every question is answered, this story isn't over.
In regards to Ashlee Jenae, the soft life influencer that has recently passed away. Just a quick summary: she went on a trip to Africa with her then boyfriend that turned into her fiance on the trip for her birthday. She had turned 31 on that trip. She talked to her parents on her birthday, especially after the proposal, and nothing under the impression that she was depressed or wanting to take her life. It has been confirmed that before her death, Jenae and John McCann had gotten into an argument after the proposal but before her death. And it was so much of an argument that the hotel officials had to make a decision, because it was so toxic between the two in their argument, what they needed to do next, that they separated them in separate rooms. Then it was stated by her mother that just did a recent interview with the news source, and she stated that he called her, right, and was like, yeah, something's going on with Ashlee, just to let you know, but wasn't too much in the details with her. She stated that she was trying to ask him for more details in regards to what the hell was going on with her daughter, but he was not giving up any more information than what he gave. She then stated that before she got off the phone with him, she asked him, like, when did all this happen? When did all this take place? And he told her 11 hours prior from him calling her to tell her what the hell's going on. So for 11 to 12 hours, you have been...
Y'all, just when it seemed like this case couldn't get any darker, more details started surfacing. And instead of bringing clarity, they only made things more confusing. Because now it's not just about what happened to Ashlee Robinson, it's about everything that surrounded her final hours. Let's go back for a second. A luxury resort, private villas, wildlife views, a place designed to feel like a dream. But behind that picture-perfect setting, something shifted. There was an argument, not just a small disagreement. Reports say it was serious enough that hotel staff had to step in and separate Ashlee and her fiancé, Joe McCann, into different rooms. Now pause right there, because that detail alone changes everything. Two people in paradise, newly engaged, and suddenly they're being separated by staff. What happened in that moment that made it escalate that far? And more importantly, what happened after they were separated? Because according to the timeline, the very next day, Ashlee is found unconscious. No clear explanation, no detailed sequence, just a jump from conflict to tragedy. And that gap? It's where the questions start multiplying. Then there's the part that keeps resurfacing, that 11-hour window, a stretch of time where, according to her family, they had no idea anything was wrong. 11 hours. That's not a delay you ignore, that's a gap you investigate. So again, what was happening during those hours?
Seen the social media posts of Ashlee Robinson, the US influencer who died in Zanzibar, Tanzania, whilst on holiday with her fiancé. Zanzibar's police told the BBC that Robinson, known online as Ashlee Jenae, had attempted to take her own life when she was found unconscious in her hotel villa. So what are the facts? In their latest statement, police in Tanzania said they are questioning her fiancé Joe McCann as a witness and are withholding his passport. They had previously told local media that he is not suspected of any wrongdoing. Her family said in a statement that she was taken to hospital, where she later died. Police Chief Benedict Mapujira told the BBC that the couple are reported to have had a disagreement, prompting hotel management to place them in separate rooms. But in a statement to the BBC, the hotel did not confirm the details of the case as given by police. The hotel said it was cooperating with authorities and the US Embassy, but declined to comment further. The investigation into this incident is still ongoing, with authorities awaiting the results of a forensic examination.
Was communication controlled, or is there context we still haven't been given? No confirmed answers, just a timeline that feels incomplete. And then came another layer. Online discussions began pointing toward Joe's professional life, his involvement in the crypto space, the reported financial pressure, and conversations about significant losses tied to his investment ventures. Now, none of that proves anything, but in cases like this, people don't look at details in isolation. They connect them, and when financial stress, personal conflict, and sudden tragedy all exist in the same timeline, people start building patterns. Again, it's not proof, but patterns. Then something else caught attention, social media, because while this situation was unfolding, while questions were rising, while a life had just been lost, there were claims that activity didn't completely stop. Posts, engagement, movement, and that's where people started asking.
Probably seen this very sad story circling the internet. Well, now there's been another update. Ashlee Jenae, the influencer who tragically died on vacation, was involved in a dispute with her fiancé, Joe McCann, before her death in Tanzania earlier this month, something local police say is now part of an active investigation. According to the North Ongoya Regional Police Commander Benedict Mapujira, the couple had a falling out at the luxury resort Zuri Zanzibar, with hotel staff stepping in and separating them into different rooms. Situation escalated enough for staff to alert authorities, with concerns raised about Ashlee's well-being, prompting a report to the Nungwi police station. Her family says Ashlee, whose real name is Ashlee Robinson, was found unconscious in her villa and rushed to the hospital. Police say she died the following day, Friday the 10th. A local news report indicates police believe she died by Ashlee's father, Harry, tells TMZ that was the early narrative from police, but stresses the family is now involved and the investigation is ongoing. He adds they've been in contact with the embassy and funeral director, and as of now, there is no official ruling on her cause of death.
But here's the thing.
How does someone process loss like that while staying active online? Is that normal behavior or something else? There's no rule book for grief, but perception matters, and perception in this case is shifting. Then there are the missing pieces. Followers notice that certain posts, especially those tied to the relationship, seem to disappear. Now, nobody has confirmed who removed them, but the idea that something might have been altered, cleaned up, or controlled, it adds another layer to an already complicated situation. And once again, the story circles back. Back to Ashlee. Back to the woman who was smiling just days before. Back to the voice that told her family she was happy. Back to the life that, from the outside, looked like it was just beginning. So how does that story end here? That's the question nobody can answer. Even third-party voices, analysts, viewers, people watching from the outside keep repeating the same thing. There's no direct proof, but the pattern doesn't feel right. And that phrase is echoing louder now, because when you line it all up, the argument, the separation, the timeline gaps, the online behavior, the missing posts, it doesn't feel like a single moment. It feels like a chain, and chains have links. So now the questions are getting sharper. Was everything handled the way it should have been? Were all details reported accurately or selectively? And are there parts of this story that haven't been revealed yet? Because the deeper people look, the more they feel like they're only seeing part of the picture. And until the full picture comes into focus, this case remains exactly where it started, unresolved, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. Y'all, by now this case isn't just raising eyebrows, it's raising serious doubt. Because the deeper people look into what happened to Ashlee Robinson, the more the story begins to feel incomplete, not proven wrong, not confirmed either, just unfinished. Let's talk about the official version. Authorities stated that Ashlee's death was self-inflicted, that there was no outside involvement, that what happened inside that villa was exactly what it appeared to be: simple, closed, explained. But here's the problem. The timeline doesn't feel simple. The behavior doesn't feel consistent, and the reactions, they don't feel aligned. Because while officials moved toward closure, Ashlee's family was still searching for answers, still asking questions, still refusing to accept what they were being told. And when a family stands that firm, people listen. Her parents have made it clear, we don't believe this was suicide, not based on emotion alone, but based on what they knew about her mindset, her plans, her energy in those final days, and maybe most importantly, the way everything unfolded after, because now the focus keeps circling back to one person, Joe McCann, not as an accusation, but as a point of proximity, the last person with her, the one connected to the timeline, the one whose version of events started this entire narrative. And as people revisit that version, more questions start to form. Why did the story shift over time? Why were early reports different from later ones? And why does it feel like certain details were clarified only after attention increased? No confirmed answers. But again, a pattern. Then there's the environment itself, a private villa, a controlled space, limited access, a setting where whatever happened away from public view. And that alone changes how people process this. Because in a space like that, the truth depends entirely on what's reported. And if the reporting feels incomplete, then the truth feels uncertain. Then came another detail that refuses to go away. Mentions of physical marks. Not officially explained, not clearly addressed, but enough to make people pause. Because if those details are accurate, do they fully align with the explanation given, or do they raise new possibilities? Again, no confirmation, just another layer. And by now, the pattern is hard to ignore. Conflict, separation, delay, silence, conclusion. It's a sequence that people keep replaying, trying to understand where things stop making sense. Even third-party voices, journalists, commentators, online analysts are echoing the same sentiment. We're not saying what happened, but something about this doesn't sit right. No proof, but a pattern, and patterns don't disappear, they build. So now the conversation has shifted. It's no longer just about what happened in that room. It's about everything surrounding it, the timing, the communication, the inconsistencies, and the possibility that some pieces are still missing. Because if everything was exactly as it's been described, why are there still so many unanswered questions? Why does the timeline continue to feel incomplete? And why hasn't this story settled? Instead, it's growing. More attention, more analysis, more pressure, and at the center of it all is still one name, Ashlee. A life that ended too soon, a story that doesn't feel finished, and a case that, despite official statements, still leaves people asking, is this really the full truth, or is there something more waiting to be uncovered? Because until every piece fits, this isn't closure. This is a mystery. This story doesn't end with a statement. It starts with doubt. Because no matter how many times the word suicide is repeated, people are still asking why nothing about this feels complete. A woman who was celebrating, smiling, planning her future, suddenly becomes a headline with unanswered questions attached to her name. That shift is what's shaking people. The timeline doesn't sit right. The delay doesn't sit right. The details that surfaced and the ones that didn't. They're leaving a gap that nobody has been able to close. And when a family stands firm, refusing to accept the official version, that alone keeps the conversation alive. Now the pressure is building. More eyes, more voices, more people replaying every moment, every clip, every detail, trying to understand what really happened behind closed doors. Not to jump to conclusions, but because something about this refuses to settle. And that's the part you can't ignore. Because stories like this don't just fade away. They grow. They evolve. They demand answers. So the real question now is simple. Is this case truly what it's being called? Or is this just the version that was easiest to close? No confirmed proof, no final clarity, just a pattern people can't unsee. And until every question is answered, until every missing piece is addressed, this story isn't over. It's only getting louder. So now it's on you. What do you believe really happened?